Thank you so much yesterday for co-hosting our CDO Hub, our global CDO Hub that we ran. It was a fascinating discussion and I really appreciate you bringing it to the table. So let's just do a quick sort of wrap up for those that couldn't make it or want to hear the key takeaways. Do you want to give us a sense of what the conversation was about yesterday?
Sure. We talked about AI ethics and ethical use of data broadly. And I'm not an expert on this, I'll be the first to admit, but the idea is that it's something that data people and AI and machine learning people and data scientists can be thinking about. We think there are regulations coming. The regulators have told us this. So it's about thinking about, what should we do as a company, as an organization to fulfill our mission, obviously, but to do it in a way that we can stand behind, that is ethical, and that we're proud to share with the community at large, and we don't have a fear of winding up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
And I think you've touched on it sort of there as well, but is there a reason that this conversation is important at the moment?
I think it's important because we are in what I call the Wild West stage of the AI revolution. I do believe that eventually it will be as big or bigger as the introduction of, for example, mobile phones and internet in your hand. It's certainly a new industrial revolution. But since we're in the early stages, we have an opportunity to be thoughtful and to do things with some intentionality rather than just blindly. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. And are we really comfortable? If someone were to do a profile of our AI team, are we comfortable with that? The output of that team being shared publicly. Are there stakeholders? Are there unintentional side effects? Are there Murphy's Law applies to AI, I guess is what I'm saying. And we want to try to prevent as much of that unintended consequences as we can.
Yeah, and that was part of the discussion yesterday, wasn't it? Around the bias that can come in, but then also how transparent you should be as well as an organization. For you, was there any sort of key highlights or takeaways from the discussion?
Yeah, there was a lot of good comments made about what people are doing now and how far along in their journey they are. What I think was interesting and kind of enlightening for me was to see the degree of, people are still in the very early stages of their AI journey in the corporate world, and that they realize this is a unique opportunity and a responsibility entrusted to them to do things in a responsible and ethical way. So that was enlightening and kind of encouraging, because I think sometimes we get the sense that no one's thinking about these things. That's why I talk about them so much.
Mm.
But the reality is people are being very thoughtful. And in the case where there's no regulation to give you guidance, you have to go with an ethical framework of, is this something that we think is right? Does it uphold the values of the company? Would we be comfortable if it was publicized, on the front page of the Wall Street Journal? Are we harming anyone? Are there any, disadvantaged or, kind of elements of our community that we're potentially could harm? And have we done everything we can to prevent those harms?
Mhm. Absolutely. And as you said, enlightening to see that people are really passionate about making sure that they're not on the wrong side of this. And I think one of the things that we kind of came up in the conversation is where this sits and who's responsible for it. And I know that
Right.
that's really maybe part of the challenge is actually where do you start? And if it doesn't sit with perhaps the data person, and that's another conversation to be had as well. So I think it was an excellent discussion. There was lots that came out of it, and certainly only had a chance to scratch the surface, but really, really appreciate you bringing it to the table. I hope we can continue to have lots of more conversations about this and move forward.